Welcome back to Restauranttopia. We got Brad Ruth here from Great Lakes Business Advisors, really talking about everything that you need to know if you're getting ready to sell your business and trying to get that maximum value, and really doing a deep dive on that and really understanding it.
Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restauranttopia.
Brad, thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate it. You're an expert in this field. You've had a ton of transactions in your career and even this year.
I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Tell listeners a little bit about your business and kind of background and kind of what you're doing to help restaurateurs and businesses maximize the value for their liquidity event.
Sure. Well, I was a restaurant owner for 18 years. I moved here back in '98 to open a restaurant down in Stowe, Ohio, Bellacino's of Stowe. So I've been an owner for 18 years. I opened another restaurant over in Kent and ran that for a couple of years. So I've been in the business for a while. I sold my business back in 2017. It was a great experience. I love the business. I love the restaurant business. I love the people. It's challenging, but it's fun. And so when I was looking to sell my business, I didn't really have anyone to go to. I didn't really I felt an expert in the market that could help me. So I ended up doing it myself. And once I learned what I was doing, I'm like, I think a lot of other people could benefit from what I've learned in the business and the transaction I've done now. I've been doing this for actually a little bit over 8 years now. So it's been a fun business, but there's a lot of businesses that need to think ahead before they sell. They need to think about how they're running their financials and how to prepare for that sale. And sometimes people just say, "Oh, I'm ready to sell." Well, it's not that easy.
No,
you need to roll into that.
Yeah, it's not a commodity. Everyone's a little different. People are going to tell you your baby's ugly. What are buyers looking for? I always, let's talk supply and demand. You got to have the demand out there. What are buyers looking for if you go to sell your business?
Buyers are looking for a concept that's a clean, nice concept. Obviously, good food is important. Mm-hmm. Good customer service, branding, a business that's established, that has a solid customer base, has a lot of the systems in place, has a point of sale system that works well, a website with online ordering that is a well-oiled machine, an experienced staff, but not so experienced whether we got everyone in their 50s and 60s that have 1 foot out the door. We want a nice bench that we have sitting that we're training. So it's important to have leadership in place that the owner isn't the business. They've got to have some people in place that have their knowledge. And the owner should be in a well-run restaurant, should be the CEO that's kind of over top of everything and put people in the right spots, but not on the line necessarily cooking, unless someone doesn't show up. Yeah. We're all experiencing the challenges of the employee side of the business, but you got to be able to jump into places when you need to, but you also have to have the right pieces in the right place and multitasking people that know how to that can work ovens if you're in a pizza shop, or they can do slicing, or they can do the baking, or they can work the line. Have those variety of skill sets so you can plug people in where you need to. So they're looking for that. They're looking for a scalable model that. A lot of people want to take a concept, they want to move it to, hey, I've got one location, let's have 3, let's have 4, let's build that concept up and build it up so we can sell it. That's the American dream. So that's what people are looking for, is a scalable concept that's on trend.
Yeah.
Hillcrest is really good about that, finding those types of restaurants and working with them. And you guys have chefs on board that can really help business owners make that pivot. A lot of business owners, I was there, we're very tunnel vision in what we're doing. Wow. And it's really important to...
You're in the business. It's hard to work on the business. And, that's one thing that we help with our customers and really try to up their game with corporate chefs and menu analysis and what are trends, and using features like Technomics and stuff that we pay for, but we don't charge our customers for. One thing that I like that you said that I thought was really interesting was, have the stuff in place like the website and online ordering. I meet with so many customers who want to sell their business, and they're like, oh, I do $1.2 million in sales, but it would be 1.5 if I did online ordering, but I haven't done that yet. Well, no one's going to pay you for the extra.
Right.
No one's going to pay you for the IFCOM. Future profits are for future owners. So if you want to get the maximum value out of your business, you better put in the push-ups and do the work to do the third-party delivery, to do the online ordering, to update your website, to drive traffic to your website, like to do social media. Like, I think people kind of use that type of stuff as a crutch and think that someone's going to actually pay them value for it, and they're not.
No, they're not. If I could sell potential, I would be retired by now. I mean, that's the reality. Everyone
I like that. I like that.
If I could sell potential, because no one's going to pay you for that potential, unless people think Shark Tank and they think, oh, I've got this widget that I can sell and I can scale and I can go. That's different. When we're in the restaurant business, show me what you've done lately. A business is valued on what you've done the last 3 years, not what you can do in the future. They want to make sure it can do what it did in the past, but your past is what tells you will really tell you what the future is about. So it's important that you put all the things in place to get that value, because if an owner's they're gonna pay a discount because you don't have online ordering, you don't have the right pieces in the right places, you don't have good signage, you don't have good marketing materials, you don't have good social media. They say potential, but they're going to pay a discount for that potential.
Yeah, because they still have to invest in that and put money out of pocket on their end to do all those things.
Right.
And you took all that money to the bank. So, I always say, like, don't feel like someone's trying to steal your business. They're just paying what it's actually worth. And then you've been scraping this money off out of your business over the last decade or whatever it is.
Right.
But all comes out in the wash. But don't have sour grapes or seller's remorse because you thought you should have got an extra 100 or another turn on the multiple or whatever it is. You didn't do the work, so you're not going to get paid for it.
Right, and it's also they want to. They say, well, they're only going to pay me 2 or 3 times my multiple. If I just stay here for 2 or 3 more years, I can make that.
Maybe,
but then you're working for 2 or 3 more years. You can't in a restaurant. It's different than real estate. In real estate, you can hold on to for 3 more years. You can collect those checks a lot of times, and they'll keep coming in. Restaurant, you got to manage the people. You got to manage the inventory. You got to manage the menu. You've got to manage that business and work it so you can make 2 or 3 times, over the next 2 or 3 years, or you can sell and take your money and cash in. But you're not going to get a 10 times multiple.
No, I'm seeing anything from 1.5 to 2 times.
Yeah.
That to me, that's been reasonable in the Ohio market from what, our customers are telling me. Looking at kind of the expense of capital, the downturn, the likelihood that you have to put an earn-out on it or some sort of payment plan. But in the local independent kind of realm of restaurants that are selling, you're really seeing someone that has to sell.
Yeah.
So you don't have systems in place. You don't have a 5-unit chain. You don't have a COO in place that's operating this thing. You're either, death, disability, or divorce. You're at the end of your life. You want to enjoy it. Time to get a liquidity event.
Yeah.
And what that is, it's not the lottery.
Right. No, it's not the lottery. And you're going to have to exit that business one way or another, whether it's because there was a death in the family, you were a family member, had some health issues, or you close it up because you're not doing well because you haven't stayed up on it and haven't continued to innovate and change with the times.
And delayed investment. Like, I see that so often. The neglected upkeep, whether it's the cooler, whether it's the line, whether it's the seating area, the front of house, back of house, what have you. Just so much is neglected, and because you've stolen all the money out of the business and never reinvested. And, that's fine. If that was the choice you did for you and your family, that's fine. But at the end of the day, don't think that you're going to get a ton of value for it.
Right. You can't have it both ways. And the same with restaurant owners are famous for taking cash out of their business. I call it taking cash. You're not ringing things in. You're putting money in your pocket. You can't get paid. You can't have it both ways. You can't get paid on the money you're putting in your pocket to avoid paying taxes on it, and then want to get paid. Well, here's what I'm making on the side, and this is what I'm doing here, and I got a little bit over here. I can't prove it. My tax returns tell you the story, and if you're telling me you're making money, but it's all in cash, I can't get you paid because unless we have a true trackable event. If you're putting in a 401k, if you're paying family members, if you're paying excessive rent, if you're doing some things that are trackable, hey, that's easy. We can get you paid for those things.
And my favorite quote is, "Oh, I'm lying to the government, but I'm not lying to you." Like I was like, well, how do I know what's true here?
Right.
And so you're not going to get paid for the cash. And think of it as this: that buyer or that pool of potential buyers, even if this particular buyer doesn't have to go to a bank to get financing, most of them will, and they're only going to get financing on what is a provable, viable business that has actual, it doesn't need to be audited financials, but actual financials.
Right.
Accurate
financials. And you're going to the government agency, the SBA, who's going to look at your financials. You're going to tell them, I've been lying this whole time. Here's all the add backs or the cash I'm taking. But I want you to pay the full dollar amount, even though I'm doing this over here. Mm-hmm. You can't have it both ways, because you got a government agency that's looking over these things. When you go to a bank, which is sanctioned by the SBA, that's going to put a deal together. And I would say 80% of my deals have been SBA financed. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I've only had probably one cash deal done. Typically, it's going to, nowadays in the market we're in, it's owner finance, because the interest rate is, SBA loan is somewhere between, it's prime plus 2.5 to 3. Mm-hmm. So that puts us at 11 to 12% or 10.5 to 12%. That changes the cash flow of the business. It changes the debt service of the business. So when an owner says, hey, I'll own a finance and I'll do it at 6% or 7% or 5%, that can increase the value of that business, but you're taking on a risk. So then it's like, okay, is it a 10% down payment? Well, probably not. We're talking probably 25 or 20, or sometimes I got a couple of deals we've done at like a 50% down payment. SBA's 10. It's great, but then you have a bigger debt service, and you have the bank is taking more risk, and you're paying for it.
Yeah, all these deals are different on how you structure them. There's no like perfect formula from what I've seen on the attorney side of things. Making sure that both parties are set up for success, especially if you're owner financing. If you know in your heart of hearts that this guy's overpaying, he's never going to be able to service this debt, you better be prepared to take back this restaurant or, sue the person or, whatever's there, because I never want to go into a deal where in my heart of hearts, I know it's the person's going to fail. Like, I want to set people up for success on both sides. So to me, by the time you get the lawyers involved and by the time you get the injury to your reputation, that it's not worth. So we talked about what a buyer's looking for. Let's get to dollars and donuts. How do you value a restaurant? How do you value that business when we're talking, we're not cutting air anymore, we're cutting checks?
Right.
How do you put a number on that?
Well, that comes down to cash flow, the EBITDA, the seller's discretionary earnings. Sales are a factor, but it's really about how much we put into the bottom line and how much can a new owner expect to receive in cash flow from that business and money in their pocket. Mm-hmm. And I use, I'll go in and recast the financials. So we'll look at things that we can add back, which is if kids are on payroll and aren't working, if you have the wife on payroll that's not working, or if you have, you're overpaying some people, that are family. There's also factors like, 401k that you're putting away. Maybe you have a country club membership. Maybe you have Browns tickets. All these things you're writing off in your business. Mm-hmm. Great. Cars. Yep. Those are trackable things that we can use as add backs to determine what a new owner can expect to pay, because we're all business owners are trying to reduce their tax bases at the end of the year, but to do it in a safe way, in a fair way. So that's what we look at. So once we go back and recast the financials and determine the value, the cash flow, and the EBITDA of the business, then we go on and look at sales comps for similar business in the industry, whether it's just a bar or a bar restaurant or just it's an eatery or a pizza shop. Mm-hmm. We'll look at those and then do like comparisons. And I've got the databases I go to it's Deal Stats, it's Peer Comps, it's Value Source. There's also BizComp. So we look at businesses that have sold in the last 5, 10, 15 years and look at the sales. I'll put that as a parameter. We'll put the EBITDA as a parameter. We'll put the seller discretionary earnings or cash flow of a business into the model, and then we'll narrow it from 1,000 businesses down to 50, and then we might narrow it even down more by tweaking a little bit on that EBITDA and that seller discretionary earnings to get us into and then also making sure if it's a pizza shop, then there's a lot of pizza shops that are in this this sales comp so we can make comparables to. And then we go and look at, okay, based on the EBITDA, I would say it's the 50th percentile. If it's in there, then maybe what it's saying is the average multiple is 1.8 times EBITDA. So then we then go, okay, the EBITDA is this, multiply by 1.8, it's this. If the SDE says, hey, it's in the 75th percentile and it's at, it's 2.1 of the SDE, then that's another number. And that gives us a multiple of those that we extrapolate out to give us, and we combine those numbers with the different databases to come up with sales comps.
Yeah, and current market conditions too.
Yes.
Right? As a professional, I'm sure you do, because you're looking at, if you're looking at historic 5 years, you're looking at interest rate levels that are much less than what we have today. So I think if it comes back at 1.8, it's probably closer to 1.5.
Right.
And looking at the other factors that are pushing down on the economy, what does a post-pandemic world look like? The other cool thing that you said, I think that a lot of people need to really understand is, what is that add back and how do we look at it? And I think you did a great job of defining add back as far as, expenses in the business that a future owner might not have. But I think too often when I see prospectuses and financials, people are trying to add back like the owner's salary. And if you're an active owner and you're in the business working 60, 80 hours a week, you can't add back your salary. And
right.
Do you see that often?
I see it a lot. And the EBITDA and the SDE are different. Like I will add back an owner's salary to the SDE.
Yeah.
And then I will then go back and subtract it out to the EBITDA to get to a number, because the owner might be paying himself $150 when to replace him $70,000 or something.
Yeah,
like
correct.
That. So it depends on his involvement in the business and how that adds up at the bottom line, because the owner's taking the business, but they're 50 hours a week and it's part of the workforce.
Yeah.
You may be able to hire someone for less than, or a new owner may work for less than that, but if he's paying himself a higher salary than what that position demands, then maybe we can add back in a portion of that.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
And there's also the part of it that they're adding back, cell phone expenses and car expenses. Well, most owners are going to do that anyway, so we're probably not going to, unless it's an excessive number. If they're driving a Tesla and they're spending $20,000 a year in car expenses that is not being used for delivery or for work purposes, okay, we do 50% of that, but we're not going to do the whole amount. So I think it's being common sense and thinking about the business and a business owner, how they're going to run it after that.
I agree. I like that. I think it goes right hand in hand with my saying that you want to set the buyer up for success, and this is what they're going to do and what the value is. When we talk about value, we're talking dollars and cents. What sort of things are you valuing in addition to the EBITDA in the business?
I think it's the quality of the product that you're putting out, the packaging, the customer base. How well are they tracking their customer base is important. It adds value, not like it's going to add to a bigger multiple of an EBITDA, but it cements a business price when we've got a good social media presence already. We've already got a solid customer base that we have and we can track. We've got a point of sale system that you have access to all your customers' information. Those things are important. Good recipes, good pizza, or good food in the restaurant where people come in and like, it's high quality, it's good. It's always phenomenal food. There's that customer experience. If you've got a lot of reviews that are really good in that business, so you're not you buy it and go, it's got good food, but no
one knows about it.
Yeah, no one knows about. And on Yelp, they're getting it's 2 stars on Yelp, and they're getting bad reviews. Well, those are detrimental to the business. So we're looking for things that are, make the business easy to run. Because if an owner steps in and he's got to be on the line, he's got to be out front with the customer, he's got to be doing everything, that hurts the value. If you've got more of that, what we've talked about is that the guy at the top that's kind of overseeing and putting people in the right spots in that business really is more attractive to a buyer.
Yeah. Do you have systems in place? Because you're going to see, and at least it's been my experience, when a transaction occurs, you're going to see attrition with your staff. Some people are going to leave. Some people aren't going to, the culture may not mess with the new owner. People being held accountable don't always like that. Or, that's the way Sally does it just because it's Sally. Like it's, that may not fly with the new owner. So you may have to find new people. You may have to, retool the operation when you take over as the new owner.
Yeah. The standard operating procedures, we've talked about that a lot. If you have standard operating procedures that makes in job descriptions, so when someone comes in, they know, Jim does this and Sarah does this, and we've got, and then, for ordering, if you got Excel spreadsheet, or if you're doing it online, whatever, you got systems in place for ordering, so you know what your PARs are. And you don't just walk around the restaurant and go, oh, I need this. No, what's the PAR? What's the expectation? There's a different PAR for if you're ordering on a Friday than if you're ordering on a Tuesday.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that you bring to the table that so many business brokers don't have, is that real life experience to understand what prime cost is, to understand, what labor should be, and the rush, and, in Northeast Ohio, that January and February are going to be a killing field. So if you're going into December and you think you're going to be able to, forecast this out the next 12 months the exact same, it's not going to happen.
No.
It's going to fall off a cliff. Worried about January and February of this year. Yeah. Because we're going to see an economy, maybe a dip. We're going to see things change. What does that look like? And is it going to be tough for restaurant operators? And then you factor on third-party delivery. I think people are going to start pulling back even more so on third-party delivery because of the inflated prices. So now, are they out of the game? Are they still going to use your online portal? Well, I think they are, if you are driving traffic to that and you're doing a good job of keeping that top of mind. But if their only interaction with you was third-party delivery, that platform owns that customer versus them being your customer.
Right, and that's we always saw it in September, October. You go into the school year and everyone's like, we're going to cook at home. We're going to do all this really good. Yeah. September, like, what happened? No one's coming in September. Mm-hmm. And October can be that way. And all of a sudden it starts to pick up a little bit. And the one way you can really build that moat around your business is catering. Yep. It's pick up and, the carry out and the delivery. Mm-hmm. And gift cards. Make sure you're pushing gift cards hard in November, December, because that will get you through your January, February. If you can really, put some deals out there so you can get that business in January when it's typically one of the toughest months of the year.
The comeback deals. I love those. Purchase $50 worth of gift cards and get $10 free to be used in January. Like, get those people back in the door. I think that is vital. All these tips and tricks to drive that cash flow into those months that you may not have it.
Yes.
Brad, this is all really good stuff. If a restaurateur wanted to sell his business, what are the steps that they should take right now, today, as they're sitting there thinking, all right, I think now's the time. What should they do?
I think the first step is just to reach out to me if you want to have that initial conversation. Mm-hmm. We can talk about kind of the steps of the process. I go through a pretty in-depth process. It's probably, 15 steps in the process. It seems like, it's not like selling a home where you're just like, we want to sell it. What's the value? Business, we got to recast financials. We got to look at business valuation. So we'll first do a business valuation where, I charge for business valuation somewhere between $500 and $1,000 up front, just to get you an idea of what that value is. And then I might say, hey, maybe now's not the time. Let's see how we round out 23 before we put that on the market. Or let's see what 24, and I just had one when we're at a business and we looked at it and he was doing $2.5 million, but it was only putting $80,000 the bottom line. I'm like, what's going on? He goes, and I called him up. I was up on vacation and I was going through his financials. I said, we got a red flag. We got a 5 alarm fire here because we got.
Wait, is somebody stealing? Like that makes no sense.
Well, his food cost was running like 45 to 50%. His
seafood place?
No, it's a high-end steak seafood place, but not that high-end. That was including like liquor and beer, and we're in the 40 to 50% range. So I'm like, we got a 5-alarm fire. Yeah. We need to make changes right now, and that's where I called a friend of Bev & Co., who I did a lot of work with in my bar, and said, hey, we had someone stealing from me. Let's go and look at the financials. Let's see what's going on. Let's do an analysis of the bar business because that could be a huge problem, and then I go, you got to go reprice your menu right now. And we've got a serious issue. You want to sell, we can't sell here based on the numbers we're seeing. So let's start making those changes. So those are the things I'll have those conversations. I'm not about selling now. I'm about selling when you're ready to sell, and the business is at the best point where we can sell it. So once we go through that, I may put you down the road a little bit, but it's for the betterment of your business and what we can do. And then once we get into that process, then there's we sign the listing agreement and we move into the market. But there's we create about a 40-page marketing packet that is going to go out to your customers. We got NDAs all set up. The whole thing is we keep it confidential. We don't want your customers to know. We don't want your employees to know. We don't know. Suppliers know. We want to keep it as confidential as possible. When you're in a restaurant, you understand that. Is it going to change if people find out? Not necessarily, but we don't want to take that chance. So we want to keep it 100% confidential and let people just kind of, we've got ways, and I've got a list of over 2,000 people that are looking for businesses to buy. Mm-hmm. So I go to that list. I go to LinkedIn. I've got, over 6,000 contacts on LinkedIn. There's just a lot of different avenues we go. I usually get buyers lined up before I even put it out on the big marketplaces, because I've got buyers already looking that are saying, that's perfect. That's right in my wheelhouse. I want to see that business. So, and
it's really, to me, it's not necessarily about having that network to get the maximum amount, because you're going to get a fair value. It's really about how quickly can you do the transaction, how seamlessly can you do it, like what does it look like as far as financials, is it a qualified buyer? This is not like buying a house where, every John and Jane Doe can basically, stroke a $350,000 check and buy your house. This is a lot different. This is something that you're going to have to set that person up for success. You want to get the transaction done, and quite frankly, as a lawyer, you don't want any litigation later on because you misrepresented financials, or all the kitchen equipment failed because you're delayed maintenance, or there's 3 lawsuits out there from sexual harassment claims because of employee issues. Like all these things that can be avoided by using a broker and using a good attorney, and really selling it to the right person.
Yeah, it's all about, money's important, but fit to me is more important.
Yeah.
If you find the right buyer and everyone's comfortable and they can work together, that is really important. Money is, it's happened several times where my business owners is taking a lesser deal because it was a better fit.
The earnout, just in today's market, the earnout is such a major thing where that is where the seller is holding some paper for the buyer. And if that fit isn't good, you could have a real problem there. Again, litigation, non-payment, default, all the things that you're worried about when you're holding paper. So I think that is really interesting that you made a focus on the fit, because it is so important.
It is. The other thing is just, finding the buyer that's qualified, that is a good fit, but has the financials to back it up, and has the net worth, and do they understand the business? Yeah. Are they going to buy a business that they don't understand? That's one thing we look for in the fit.
The doctors and lawyers that want to be in the restaurant business. It's like that's not. I've never seen that turn out well. Like never.
No. Whenever. Unfortunately, that is a challenge.
Yeah.
Just because you have money doesn't mean you should buy a restaurant.
And just because you have money doesn't mean you're smart.
Yeah, you got to stay in your lane when it comes to business and what you know and what you don't know. And historically, we've seen that in a lot of different ways that doesn't work out, where it's not just money. It's money and fit and understanding how to treat people and how to run a business.
I love it. Brad, where can people find you at?
You can find me at my website at GreatLakesBusinessAlliance.com, and you can reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn.
Perfect. So, and all of Brad's contact information will be in the show notes. As you know, we have copious show notes on restauranttopia.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Good deal. All right. See how easy that is?
Yeah.
This is a high-quality pod. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Adios.
Thank you for listening to Restauranttopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast. And also, if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restauranttopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you and have a great day.